Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Prima Advanced User Forum. This is Chris, and I'm going to be your host today. We're going to be going over the EDC, just a general overview of what the EDC is, what it does, and some troubleshooting tips if it ever doesn't work for you. Tyler is going to be in the chat if you have any questions during the presentation. Otherwise, we'll host the usual Q&A session at the end. But okay, we'll just jump right into it. So the EDC, also known as the EDI, they have two different names, but they're referring to the same thing. So somewhere you might see it called EDI, sometimes EDC, just know that's referring to this area. It stands for the Electronic Data Connector or Electronic Data Interchange, two different names, same thing. What it is the part of Prima that helps connect to other third-party softwares like connecting to suppliers or connecting to QuickBooks, any of your order systems, punch out systems, things like that. So to log into the EDC or the EDI, it's going to be the EDI option here in this drop down, and then you would log in with your normal username and password. So this is the EDC. At the top here, you have your list of jobs that it runs. And then down here at the bottom, it's got the like an activity feed. And it'll tell you what job it's working on, which documents have been processed. Like it'll tell you which emails have been sent, which invoices have been posted, things like that. It'll just give you any error messages as well, if anything happens. All that kind of information down here. So we'll start with the top here, the list of jobs that it runs up here. That's going to be available in admin, the full list of jobs. We can open admin up here. Here we go. So that's going to be in EDC over here on the left-hand column. So this is the full list of jobs. It's going to go through these one by one here. Process and send electronic purchase orders. That, of course, is going to send your purchase orders EDI to the vendor. Send the purchase orders electronically. Process order acknowledgements. When you send the purchase order, the vendor sends back an acknowledgement to tell us that yes, we received your order. Everything looks good. It'll update any cost differences, or if something's out of stock, it'll update it then. But coming from the vendor is these acknowledgements. Next is send and receive electronic mail. That's sending and receiving emails through Prima. Process external imports and exports. This does quite a bit. It's importing a whole lot of data and exporting a whole lot of data. So that's going to include any import templates, like if you're uploading customers or stock products, or like a terms file into Prima, this job will handle that. I'll also do best price files, logic block, EvoX, Giza 2020 stuff, punch out orders, all that kind of information is handled by this job here. Receive and process electronic invoices and credits. That's going to be invoices and credits from the vendor after you send a purchase order. So it's going to be your purchase invoices and credits. Financial system export and export, import. That's going to be the QuickBooks connection. So anything handled by QuickBooks is going to be handled by this job here. So that's going to be sales invoices and credits, posting those over to QuickBooks, pulling balances, payment statuses, due dates, anything handled by QuickBooks is going to be this job. Generate orders from order pads. That's going to be if in your order pad you have an auto order schedule set up, where it'll create a sales order for you on a specified schedule. This job will handle that if that's set up in the purchase in the order pads. And then complete payment for full delivery. complete payment for fully delivered sales invoices. That's going to be if you have a pre-auth payment on an invoice. This job will check the sales order and see if all items have been delivered. And if they have been all delivered, it'll go ahead and complete that pre-auth credit card payment and fully complete it on the invoice. And then the last one here, import catalogs. That will import catalogs from the vendor when that's available. It's important to point out here that even though this will run each time, the catalogs won't actually import until after hours. So even if the catalog's ready to be imported, like during the day, it'll queue it and wait till like 10 p.m. or later to go ahead and actually import it into your system, so it doesn't interfere with any of these other jobs. So yeah, what the EDC does, it'll go ahead and run through each one of these jobs and complete them as they go. You can see there's an enabled column right here, so you can enable or disable any one of these jobs. If you want to change that, that's going to be the enable disable button down here. You just turn it on and off. But for the most part, we want to usually keep all these jobs enabled. In addition, there's a schedule feature. So you can pick the certain times or time frames you want these jobs to actually run. So if we double click on one of these, let's say this is the email. So for example, Monday through Friday, we want emails to send all the time. So anytime it cycles through this job, it'll go ahead and send all the emails it's available to send. Something else with a schedule might be, let's say, the financial system here. So this one, on the contrary, is timed. So the interval is 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes between 7 o'clock and 4 p.m., it'll go ahead and send information to and from QuickBooks. So that'll be posting invoices and all that. The reason this might be timed is so that it's not constantly sending invoices or trying to send invoices. It might interfere with other tasks throughout the day. Like for example, we wouldn't want the posting invoices to interfere with purchasing, for example. So that's why we limit it at 4 o'clock, because we know a lot of purchasing is done after 4 o'clock. So these schedules are set up in a careful way. So we recommend that you don't change any of these schedules. Of course, you can open them and look at them, but if you want to change any of them, we ask that you consult us first, because there might be a certain reason why we set a particular time frame for these tasks to run. Yeah, and that's pretty much everything here. I should also mention that this receive and process electronic invoices and credits one here, receiving purchase invoices and credits from the vendors. If you open that schedule, it will show a list for each vendor available. A lot of these are UK vendors, but if we pick like SBR, for example, you can set particular times on when you want to import those purchase invoices and credits. So you can turn that on and off. Like if you prefer to not receive them electronically, if you prefer to do them manually, we can turn them off completely. And so you can create and complete those manually, or of course only on certain days, anything like that. So again, please contact us before you edit any of these. And that's pretty much everything for the EDC here. I should mention that when you run the EDC, it only has to be run on one person's computer, and it'll work for the entire database. But we'll go ahead and jump into troubleshooting now. So if you have any issues during the day with any of these tasks, like if you have issues sending emails or sending purchase orders or invoices, it might be an issue with the EDC. So some tips on what to check first. So what I would check first is in the client, you'll see this EDC running text up here. That'll let you know that of course the EDC is on and then that it's running. So for example, if we go ahead and turn this off, it'll let you know that it's off. Let's log right out here. And then this is a useful pop-up actually now that it's here. This will warn you that catalogs are scheduled to import at tonight. What is that, 11 o'clock? And so when you log out of the EDC and we have catalogs scheduled to import, it's telling you that you might want to keep the EDC running so that it can actually import those catalogs tonight. Because if we log out, it won't be able to import those. So that if you ever see this, it might be a good idea to keep it running. But we'll just log out for now. So when you go into the client, the EDC still says it's running. The status is going to update every 5 minutes or so. So to refresh the status, we'll just click on it once. And that'll let us know that the EDC is not running. Of course, not running is going to tell you that it's that it's turned off. No one's logged into the EDC at the moment. It might also say not responding, which is a little bit different. If you see not responding, that means that it's usually just processing like a large task. So if you see not processing or not responding, I mean it's on and it's running, but it's working on something big, so it's not getting to the other tasks at the moment. So if you do see that it's not responding and it's kind of looks like it's frozen, it might be working on something big. So we ask that you just like leave it for a little while, give it about an hour. If it's if it doesn't fix itself within an hour, then let us know and we'll take a look at it. But let's go ahead and turn that back on. Let's say that it is running, everything looks good. What should we check next? So before we move on, I should also mention that in admin, if you're unsure of who's running the EDC, there is a separate user for the EDC called EDI connector right here. So here you'll be able to see whether or not it's running and whose computer it's running on. If you ever want to log that person out remotely, and so you can log into the EDC on some other computer, we can hit the log off button down here. And then under the machine column, it'll tell you which PC is running the EDC. I named my PC in a certain way, so you'll be able to see who's actually running it. But let's say instead of Chris Prima PC right here, it might be some other serial number from like the computer manufacturer. What you can do is just sort by this machine column here. And then if we find the EDI connector, I'll be able to see what other users are also using that PC. So for example, that's my user. So that would indicate that I'm the one running the EDC, for example. So if you ever want to log somebody out remotely, you can do that. But let's say it's running, but something's still not working. You might want to check the EDC and check if there are any errors down here. For example, looking at this feed, I can see error sending email right here. So, if you're not sending emails, we might want to, check the email settings, make sure those are up and good. Something right here, like web list delayed status right here, that'll be uploading products to the website, to the new V2 website. So if you see process skipped or something, that might be, it's skipping items that it shouldn't, anything like that. But right now, this is the Sales Edge demo. This is our test database, so everything looks good here. Of course, if you have any errors sending purchase orders, it'll go ahead and give you an error message saying that, it can't send purchase order because of X reason. or if it can't post an invoice, it'll say, can't connect to QuickBooks, token expired, or, whatever the error message says. So if you're unsure how to fix it, feel free to give us a call. If you're emailing us, it always helps us to get a full screenshot of this EDC here so we can see these error messages. That'll help us kind of narrow down what the issue is as well. And then, of course, if the purchase order job isn't enabled, for example, it's of course not going to send purchase orders. So that might be a reason why something's not working, is that the job's not turned on. So if you ever do turn the jobs on or off, enable or disable, it's usually good just to restart the EDC anyway, just so we can get a fresh start. It'll go ahead and add in the tasks after we restart. And then something else that might happen is if you're running the EDC on like a new computer or like a server or something, it might be a firewall issue. A security software of some kind might prevent Prima from connecting to the internet for security reasons. So if you ever see a pop-up from your security system that says, "Do you want to trust Prima?" Of course, you'll say yes if you want the EDC to work correctly. But yeah, otherwise, if you have any other issues with the EDC, feel free to contact us. And we'll help you figure it out. That's usually a top priority issue if you ever have those. So feel free to give us a call or an email. If it is a firewall issue, it might help to run the EDC on a different computer, or connect it to a different network. To kind of narrow down if it really is a firewall issue, if it's with a specific computer or a specific network or something like that. When you're running the EDC, it's usually best to run it on maybe like a server or its own dedicated computer, because of course, depending on what kind of computer you have it running on, it might take up a good chunk of processing power. So it's usually best to have its own dedicated computer, or put it on a computer that runs automated services like this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I got to show you guys today. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll go ahead and open up the floor for questions now.